Welcome to the Nitty Gritty. We have Scott Warner here today.
Hello.
Scott, CEO of Gigg, and a whole lot of other stuff going on right now that we'll get into today. But I think that's the easiest way to introduce you. And we're almost family, but not quite. Everyone thinks we're family. I don't know if you know that, but everyone always talks to me as if we're related.
Same thing for me.
Because they know Cam and Trey, and they just assume everyone's always related.
A lot of family here, togetherness. Yes.
So.
Yes. Well, it's good to be here. I'm so excited.
This will be good.
I'm excited.
We're going to get the nitty-gritty details on what's happening with Scott.
It's going to get crazy. It's going to get crunk. Anytime Cameron and I are in the same room, it really...
I know, I'm almost scared to talk.
We digress to 13 years old at times, sometimes even 9 years old. So,
Scott, I will say Scott brings it out of me because he laughs hardest at, like, inappropriate things.
You're filthy.
And so...
Well, people know how it is. Like, people...
right.
Anytime
I
you
mean,
get
we're
with
like
your
brothers.
from
I
back
used to
in the
wet his
day-
bed, when I was 14.
Yeah, he did. He still does. Doesn't confess to it, but...
A lot of sleepovers.
But, like, no,
Denise.
for real. My dad talks about getting together with his buddies when he's golfing. You know, they're on their 60s, and they digress right back to high school.
Absolutely. Men don't grow up.
Never.
No.
And they shouldn't.
I agree. You've got to let it out because at home, we're all under our wives' regimes,
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
And so when we're together, we have to just let our hair down.
that's correct.
It's called life balance.
So let us let our hair down.
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew.
So, Andrew, help us
Let's
let our
go.
hair down.
I
Let's
wanna
go.
I want to know where it all started. I met you back in the Pinnacle days. So that's
The
when I got to
days.
know Scott.
The
It's
days.
back at the Pinnacle days.
Yes.
Knocking doors. How did
Yes.
you first get introduced to Pinnacle?
My good buddy Dave Brotherson talked me into doing this insanely stupid summer, escape. And
Summer escape.
The summer escape. And I was like, well, Dave went out and made I think he made like 40 grand in 4 months. And I'm like, if this fool can make it, I have a decent shot because he's Dave.
How did you know Dave?
Dave and I actually served an LDS mission together in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's how we became buddies. It's
I
kind
don't
of a
think I
crazy
knew that.
story. Yeah. We can go deeper into that, but yeah, that's how we met.
And then how long were you at Pinnacle?
11 years. 11 glorious, horrible, amazing, great life lessons. 11 years.
Emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. It was some of the greatest times of my life, for real.
What's your favorite memory of it?
The summers are very hazy.
You have to have a short-term memory for the summers.
No, I mean, there's a lot of memories that I have, but I think my fondest memories are just the good times with friends.
Yeah.
My brothers, my cousin Cam. Cam sucked at selling, but he had some decent he had some decent summers. But no, just we learned a lot together. It's hard. That job is hard as hell. I don't care what anyone says. I think there are very few things that can be tougher than that, and you learn a lot about yourself. So you guys both know this, right?
Yep.
Yes, I do.
Well, I mean, and you led the way. All of your brothers did it,
Yeah.
right?
Still have a brother in it now. Actually, 2 brothers now. I have another brother that's kind of dabbling in it a little bit while he's going to nursing school. So
Oh, Danny went back.
yeah. Well, he's just kind of doing it as a side job right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just while he's finishing
Yep.
up school.
Yep. Cameron, why are you shaking your head, bro?
Oh, poor child.
Which
Respect.
part?
Just him having to go back. I'm thinking right now, you got to do what you got to do, but I would have the hardest time going back to doing that.
I literally dry heave thinking about it. I'm not joking. Like, if I think about it, the smells of walking into the apartments and
I was just talking to Trey. I don't know what about Trey Warner, my cousin Scott's brother, your brother-in-law.
Yep.
we're family.
Yeah.
A lot of family.
And so we were just talking about, I don't know how it came up, but it's just like there's something about people just not using their air conditioning in the summertime. I remember going to houses in Chicago. It's like 90 degrees in their house and they're frying fish.
Oh, yeah.
And you just walk in. You're just like, this is what hell feels and smells like.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's like you're walking into someone lifting their arm. You're walking into their armpit, and you're taking a deep breath.
And
You're
you've got
rubbing your
to,
face in it.
Yeah, you're just, yep.
right. You got to maintain, you got to be professional. You're trying to get a sale, so you're acting like nothing's wrong. And inside, you're just like, please get me out of here. Anyway.
But really, like, the greatest lessons are learned doing that job.
Everyone has to try it.
I agree.
Everyone has to try it.
Yeah, I've actually got my oldest son out knocking doors right now. Right this very second, he's 13. He's
Doing
learning
what?
young. He's selling. He's going door to door, everyone, and he is painting addresses on the curbs.
I love it.
You know,
I mean, that's where we started, dude.
I was just gonna say that. Like, you talk about a serial entrepreneur. So, tell us a little about what your first 2 businesses as a kid.
The Snack Shack and Trey's Trash
Snack Shack.
and then the curbs.
and the curbs.
Tell us about those a little bit.
Well, the Snack Shack and Trey's Trash. Trey is my brother, and we just thought it was a perfect fit for a great creative name. It's Trey's Trash. But
How old were you?
the Snack Shack started when I was like 9. We used
Right.
to go and buy. My dad would go to Costco or whatever, Sam's Club, and we'd buy a bunch of
Smart and Final,
Smart
actually.
and Final, whatever
Yep.
it was. Yeah, we'd buy a bunch of candy bars, and during the softball games, we'd set up shop and sell.
That's so 6 years old. I had a Snack Shack. Literally had something built that
What's up?
said Snack Shack on the top of it.
Yeah. Lemonade
That's
stand was
so
not
funny.
enough for us, dude.
No, you had to
no,
have candy.
That's
and
right.
get
That's right.
He
You had to
inspired
diversify.
Snack Shack too. Around the corner of Myrtle and Heil. And I used to have like city workers stop by and be like, "Hey, you got any beer?" I'm like, I'm 10. But I couldn't believe it. So yeah, I mean, entrepreneurial spirit for sure. But I think spray painting curtains. So
Yeah, that
tell
was
us
a big-
about that.
So when we were living in Huntington Beach, my dad, we were just at home. It was one evening. I remember us playing Sonic the Hedgehog with Trey, and we got a knock on the door, and I heard my dad answer, and it was a guy that said, "Hey, would love to touch up your curb, the address on the curb." And my dad said, "That's interesting." He goes, "I'll tell you what, I'll let you do it, and I'll pay you double if my 2 boys can come sit and watch you do it." So Trey and I went and sat, one on his left side and one on his right side, and we watched him do the whole thing. And that was the beginning of what we did. We did this all through high school. I even did
Right.
it after I got home from my mission.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, 10, 11 years old, and he was already knocking doors.
we come home with $50. I mean, here's to give you an idea. Chase last summer, and he's just getting back into it because the weather's been terrible out here, but he was making $200-300 a week, and he was 12.
Was he really?
Yeah. So I mean, that's the beauty of it. You're going to teach your kids something. Teach them now. Teach them, how to negotiate and how to sell and how to become confident and how to communicate with people. There's no better opportunity for a kid than that.
So how do you do that? I've thought about this a lot. A lot of times, successful people have a really cool story, and a lot of it is they didn't have a lot growing up. They were forced to do things that just out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
Well, how now can you turn your kids? How do you give them that same motivation? Because your kids are growing up differently than you grew up.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
And so how do you kind of teach them? How do you give them that fire when they don't necessarily go without? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to open up about an incredible frustration that I have. And this may offend some of our friends that are listening to this because they're going to know that I'm talking to them. I find it fascinating how many of, folks that I watch that just give their kids everything. I don't see their kids doing a dang thing to go out and earn what it is they have. And, that's easy to do, right? Or excuse me, you want to do that, right? Like
Right.
you want to give your kids
Yeah.
the best. And sometimes it's easy to not have to worry about teaching them the importance of work ethic because it's a battle trying to get my kids' butts out of the door to go and, knock people's doors to, paint their curb. You have to battle at times with these kids, right? And that's not easy. So then it just becomes easy to, what do you want? Yeah, I'll get it for you. You want a new gun on freaking whatever it's called, Fortnite? Just here you go,
Fortnite.
Right?
It's like a cuss word to me.
I want a new gun on Fortnite, Dad. Good. We'll get your butt out there and go make some money. I'll buy it for you, right?
Amen.
And that's a choice that you make as a parent. There's always going to be opportunities to teach your kids how to go and make money. You have to make the decision and be committed as a parent to wanting to teach them. Because if you get lazy, and I'm seeing a lot of parents get lazy, that's an easy way. You got to be tough enough and dedicated enough to getting your kids' butts out to go make money. This is for both boys and girls. Teach them hard work. And I think there are a lot of parents that are not focused on teaching their kids work ethic, and they will suffer.
Well, and to your point, it's not that hard to do. I mean, you don't realize it's different when you grow up. And I remember when my parents divorced and all of a sudden no more money, right? And
Yeah.
I had to go out and earn it myself. But even in a more comfortable environment, like your kids have, like my kids have, like your kids have, like where it would be easy just to say like, oh, you need a new baseball mitt? Here you go. It's not that hard to say, like my kids wanted a Cars video game the other day.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is your fault.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's better than Fortnite.
Gosh, man.
As long as I can keep Fortnite out of the house, we're okay. But I just remember saying like, okay, it's $35. You guys split it. Figure it out. And they were totally down for it. So it's, you teach them the value of money. You make them realize that, hey, I've got to make money. And if I do that, I can get things that I want. Whole reason I have 2 200-pound dogs is just so they can poop all over the yard.
There
And
you
then
go.
they can clean it up.
And here's another idea. Like, it's a collaborative effort. Go talk to your neighbors
Right.
and try and find something that they may need while you have stuff at your house. Because I think it's important to teach the kids that, hey, living under the roof, of your own home, there's chores, and we all
Right.
work as a family and a team. Though, picking up the poop, do you pay them for that? That's your choice, but there's something really, really helpful or good for the kid to go over to your neighbor's house to do work for them, and then maybe have their kids come and do work for you, so they learn that they have to go out and make it happen. And there's not this
Get out of their comfort
expectation,
zone a little
right?
bit.
Like, if you ask the kids to do the dishes, they're going to think that you're supposed to pay them
Yeah.
because you pay them for things that they do around the house. Whereas, if the Jones down the street need, their trash taken out or their lawn mowed, they get paid for that. But under your roof, that's part of the deal living
Yeah.
in there under your home, in your home.
So did your dad instill that in you growing up, or do you feel like it just kind of has come natural to you?
I think it came natural. I have always loved, baseball cards, man. I remember trading baseball cards. Remember Pogs? I think
Yes.
Pogs were big in Southern California.
They
I
were
was-
they were big everywhere.
They
there
were
was
big here. I
there
remember
was just a
Pogs.
big article on Pogs, like
They tried
I
to make
saw-
a comeback a couple years ago.
right.
They need to try harder
I
because-
saw it on Twitter just like 2 days ago where it says if you still have these Pogs, here's what they're worth, and it was like the top 50.
Oh, man.
Like I couldn't believe how
Big
big
old
those got.
slammers and the big tubes
Yeah.
you'd
Yeah,
carry 'em
man.
in.
Those were so fun. And that those were ways to you teach negotiation through baseball cards. I mean, that was my currency as a kid.
Uh-huh.
And so you learn how to negotiate with your little buddies, and dad helps you, kind of walks you through it. Make sure if you're trading with your brothers, you're not jipping the younger one that's dumb. I kind of did that to Danny, my little brother, a little bit, but that's the benefit of being the oldest, I guess. But yes, I think we didn't know any differently. Like we were expected to get out there. I paid for lunches, I paid for gas, paid for all my clothes, in high school, and I didn't know any different. And I've talked openly about this. There were some things that went down with my dad, my parents, an investment that went south, and it really, really put us in a financial bind. My parents look back and consider it one of the greatest blessings ever, as hard as it was.
Yep.
That it forced all of us boys and my little sister to learn work. And it happened when I was like 11 or 12 years old, maybe even 10. But that was the moment that dad and mom said, "Hey, you guys got to go. You guys got to go hustle, figure it out, and make some money. Because if you want to go do fun stuff or you want this or that, you gotta go get it." And so it just happened that way. And I think because it happened that way, we understood work ethic, and we're always looking for ways, to be an entrepreneur as a kid, like Cam was saying, So
Yeah. So you're at Pinnacle now. You've had this entrepreneur background.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever expect or think you were going to be there as long as you were? Like when you got into it, could you see more than a summer ahead of you?
I saw about 3 summers in, I was like, oh, we got something here. I'll never forget when we went to Nashville to receive the reward for the top dealer for ADT.
Mm-hmm.
And people were looking at us like, who in the heck are these little chumps up there just destroying our records, selling way more than we do? That's when I really knew we had something. And that's when I think we all kind of kicked it into high gear and went after it. And, the rest is history, right?
Yeah.
You guys know, the whole story. But about 3 years in, I realized we had something real.
Okay.
And people weren't saying, when are you going to get a real job as much? I mean, I heard that all the way until I left, right? Now who's talking, right? Like now who's saying stuff like that? It's not happening as much. It's the real deal,
Like, when did you know that it was time to go?
I just had this feeling one day. I call it an impression that I was to make a move, and I did.
What was the move after Pinnacle?
To start this crazy company that I'm doing today, called Gigg, and just it's time for you to move on and step into another field, and it was a field that I've been passionate about, and so that's.
So I didn't know that. So you went straight from Pinnacle to, now it wasn't Gigg when you first started it, right?
No, it was. So here's the story. I'd invested in a company that my buddies did called Top Blip. It was Sean and Justin Bingham's company, and I've always had a passion for music. That's
Okay.
actually why Gigg even started in the first place. But the Top Blip thing was a fun little piece of it. The truth is I don't even use any of the stuff that we did early on, but I loved Sean and Justin's idea around this music concept, and that's where I wanted to go with things, and so I thought it was a great thing to invest in. But I officially launched Gigg in 2013, and Sean and Justin, gracefully bowed out, and they both got a really decent payday, and then I was off to the races with what Gigg, is today.
So what is Gigg? As it currently stands, what is Gigg?
It's a marketing machine. It's to me the most effective way to drive your brand. There's no doubt about it, and it's a social media approach, and we created software to help you be more effective in social media and capitalize on opportunities that exist there.
Okay. Has it evolved into what it is now, or has it always been this and it's just kind of slowly gotten better? Or has there been a turn or a complete change along the path?
We've pivoted 4,762,582 times. But no, the truth is the heart of it has never changed. It's just there's constant evolution. There's constant changes in marketing and social media especially, but social media is taking over. It's a new form of communication, and it's imperative that businesses learn how to capitalize on it. I mean, Cam can speak to this. We reached 300 million people in 2018. I mean, if you think for a second about how that's even possible,
When you say we reached 300 million people, what do you mean?
300 million people, impressions, 300 million people were exposed to the Bam Bam's brand in 2018. And we track that through analytics. And
Just the Bam Bam's brand.
Just one single restaurant.
That's right.
Just through social media.
But both Cam and I mean, Cam's a pro at aligning and connecting with people. That's Cam and I talk about this all the time. Is I think that with the number of times that we've moved, the people that we've had a chance to meet, it's all who you've heard. It's all about who you know. It's about your network. It's used way too much. People talk about it way too much, but there is so much truth in it. And Cameron's a pro at aligning with people. He can find common ground with anybody. I've told him it doesn't matter if it's some, Cam. Don't inhale this, Cam. But an individual that can align with or find common ground with, the valedictorian of Harvard, whatever, the smartest person in the world, to some dude tatted head to toe, in jail, right? That's a special trait, and Cameron possesses that. And so I always knew that the faster I could put Cameron in a position to be seen by people, or align with influencers, or the more influencers that Cameron could align with, which he has, this thing will go as long as the product is good. The same rules apply with any product in business. If you have a decent product and you have something that people like, how do you get this out to everyone and make everyone aware of it? And there is no more effective way than social media, and that is what Gigg is. Gigg is a tool to help you capitalize on that very thing.
So I suck at social media.
Yes, you do, Andrew.
So how did you get into it?
I think I've always been into it. Cam knows this about me. I love meeting people. I love getting to know people. I think you can learn something from every person that you come in contact with. It doesn't matter who it is. They got something. They've got some knowledge.
See, and I agree with that 100%. I love it. I just don't know how does that equate to social media?
So that is, again, what Gigg is.
Okay.
We help you identify who you are. We have the strategy called the core 5. There are 5 things that represent you to the core, and you have to own that and be consistent with that and deliver that in social media. I can tell you Cam's core 5, right? I have my core 5. A business should have its core 5, and you have to message that appropriately through social media. Once you do that, remain consistent with that in social media, you start bringing them in, and people start wanting to follow you because you've found common ground, kind of like what I was talking about with Cameron. Cameron can find common ground with anyone because he knows how to relate, and listening is so key. As you're meeting someone or getting to know something, Cameron does that very well. I'm saying way too much good stuff about Cameron. Can you start?
I really appreciate it.
He's just quiet.
I'm just
listening.
taking it in. Well, I think this podcast is kind of hard because Scott and I mean, we're cousins, right? But we are brothers, basically. I mean, he owns a part of the Bam Bams. Like, he's my business partner. If it wasn't for Scott, Bam Bams doesn't show up. I mean, he funded it. But with the podcast, it's hard because it's kind of cool to hear you. You know, I think that's why I'm kind of like trying to stay back a little bit because it's kind of, I know all of this stuff. So I don't want to.
Just say it, Cam.
I don't want to take away from the audience learning everything about him from somebody's perspective that doesn't know as much about Scott as I do.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool sitting back and listening to it and you know, from an outsider's perspective.
So Cam tells the story of when he came and pitched you the idea of Bam Bams, and he basically walked out with the check.
No, I didn't basically walk out with a check. I walked out with a check.
So I want to know why. Like, what about that were you like, okay, this is going to be good?
Well, I think there's a lot more to the story than just that. In fact, I actually, my story may be a little bit different than what Cameron tells.
Probably is.
Let's hear it.
I saw what Cameron was doing, and I tasted what Cameron was cooking.
Yeah.
And so he started doing all these tournaments and winning them. And I'm like, Cam, like, you got something. And Cameron, if you remember, you didn't know if you wanted to do this.
No, I told that story. I told that story in the last podcast I did with somebody that I went to your house, and he basically, you know, sold me on just getting the balls to do it because I was still kind of, you know, after my internship with John in Austin, I was like, I could do it, but it's still a really scary prospect. So, but I think the other thing that you have to remember about us is that we had been working together for
years,
9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And so we worked together really well. He knew what kind of person I was. So investing, you know,
Worked together at Pinnacle?
yeah, I worked for Scott.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, I think that all of that history probably played a role, and I'm sure Scott doesn't just write checks to people, right?
No, I don't.
There's more research that goes into it, but
Everyone has their opinion on doing business with family.
Yeah.
You know, so that obviously can be good or bad depending on how you look at it.
You know, some of my most successful ventures have been with family. I mean, it's all about trust, love, communication. You know, Cameron and I have gone to blows a couple times, but the truth is in the end, we love each other, we trust each other, and we're there for each other, right? And so there's power in working with families. It's just a matter of how you do that. Most people can't, but again, it's all about communication. But in going back to
Hold on,
go ahead.
real quick. Why have you been successful with that? When so many people fail with business with family, what has allowed you to be so successful? You just said some of your most successful, if not the most successful things you've done, have involved family. How have you been able to do that?
Trust.
I think our family dynamic plays a role in it too. I think we were all so close as kids. Every Sunday we were together, sleeping over each other's houses, and so I think we learned to communicate and trust early. And so, you know, I remember the first couple years at Pinnacle. I quit my first year. I was like, this sucks, and I quit. Scott got me back the next year. We did like almost go to blows a couple times twice. And it was funny. Like, I remember one fight, not super specifically, but I just remember us both like looking at each other and just going, this sucks. We've got to figure it out. And I remember having a big, long conversation like, look, man, instead of getting mad, we got to talk it out. And it's funny. Ever since then, we've never had an issue like that. And so I think communication probably is a big part of it. And the way we were just brought up, close to each other. And so we have a very outgoing family too.
Yeah.
We're not shy.
That can be really bad though, because you get a lot of type A personality usually in those types of families.
Absolutely can be. But yeah, it's just kind of always worked.
I don't know if you guys have gotten massive fights with your wife, like massive. Anybody?
I had to live at grandma's for 6 months. So
yeah. Did. Cameron, we all know Cameron did.
I'm not a fighter.
So sure. Well, look, here's the deal. Like, there's power in losing it and getting furious with someone. If you learn to communicate, admit to faults, and then come back to normal, but stronger, right? And so I think that's one thing that Cameron and I have aced and will continue to ace and get better at. Good partners will say it how it is and say it like it is. Great partners will take it in, listen, and learn from it and grow and become stronger. That unit, the bond. And this goes with any relationship, in marriage, in partnership, friendship. Like, you know who your true friends are and your true family, the family that loves you most, when you've hit rock bottom, but they're always still there and you find a way to fix it. Partnerships in business, same thing, Can you keep going? Can you keep fighting when things just get nasty? Yeah. And so, there's a lot of partners that I had early on with Gigg that I don't even talk to anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not to say that they're not good dudes, it just may not have been the right fit for me or them at the time. And so you move on, but there's other partners that have been blood, sweat, and tears that still remain, that are willing to fight till the very end to see it through to where we want to go with the company. But I think that, going back to Cameron, like, that's he and I's, I think that's one of our greatest strengths, and the trust there, it was built. It takes time to build that kind of trust. And so, but anyway,
I think I just had an interesting thought when you were talking about it, as far as like, because I'm sitting here thinking like, yeah, it is kind of shocking because family's hard, but maybe there's one advantage to being in business with family, and it's that I can't get rid of him. Like, he's my family.
Yeah.
I love him to pieces, right? Business or not. And so, maybe there is an advantage because you have to figure it out. It's like, look, we may hate each other for the business or we may be arguing, but he's still my family. So I can't just ditch, like the old partners. And, I think it's very healthy to trim the fat sometimes and get rid of negative whatever. But with family, you have to work it out. And I think that can be
it's a benefit,
a serious benefit in business. And so it's so yeah, I don't know. That might be, I think that there's so much negative, there's kind of a negative feeling overall when it comes to working with family. And maybe that's the brighter side of looking at working with family is, hey, when it gets ugly, at least you get it out. Because I have no fear in saying what I feel with you. It's just like when you fight with your family, it's the ugliest, right?
Yeah.
Because they can't go anywhere. And so at least you get out what you want to get out and you work through it. So
some families, though, don't make an effort.
True.
And then they suffer the rest of their life. Like, any of you listeners that have a family member that you don't see eye to eye with, or you guys went to war and back, and maybe the other person truly was at fault, the question is, are you strong enough to put it aside and go back to what matters most, which is family? And so I think that Cameron and I figured out how to do that quickly. But going back to your original question, or what led to all this, is Cameron wasn't all about it. But Cameron, I saw more and more confidence growing as he continued to perfect his pit bossing and his meat.
Pit bossing.
Whatever.
I like that. It's a good verb.
I knew that Cameron was ready,
and
I pressed him. I was pressing him, and because I saw, if I see an opportunity, I jump on it. And I get a lot of hell for being all over the place. You're all over the place, Scott. You don't focus. There's incredible power in focusing, but I have something to share with everyone. All the businesses I invest in, I apply the Gigg formula. I really do. So it really is just one focus. And we can go into that further. But Cameron, I'm all about passion. Gigg is passion, and I look for passion. And Cameron is a pit boss warrior, and he has aced it, and he has put in the time to perfecting his product. So as an entrepreneur, you should be looking for stuff like that. If you know a person is passionate about a product that is good, you latch on, and you latch on immediately. And forget what anyone else says. Cam, I'm not going to lie, dude. I had so many people that said, "Are you freaking serious, Cameron? You can't invest." Cameron's great, and we all love him, but is he gonna go kill it with this? You think, Scott? And I said, yes. I know Cameron, and this guy is so passionate about his product, and he's so good with people. This is a win. And you know what? I've kind of rubbed it in a few people's face.
Yeah.
I really have. And
That's
I know
right.
Cameron has
You guys can suck it.
Yeah, do that. And so, but again, like, it became easy for me. And Cam came to me and said, "Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this." And then we found this little piece of shiz hole in the wall place, right off State Street.
Right.
And I think the next chapter is coming. And I've had to learn to give Cameron a space, because I'm stupid big thinking. Like, it actually is a great
Balance.
yeah. Cameron helps balance that side, but I think some fun things are in the works. But when you're reaching 300 million people in a year through social media,
It's crazy.
what now, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the things that I've been doing behind the scenes, Cameron continued to align himself with great people. It's a win-win. And so, Cam, when are we going to start talking about the next chapter, dude? Maybe we should do it right
that's
here on
what
the
I do
podcast.
I love
Okay,
it.
so I'll ask this kind of from an outsider's perspective. So if I'm let's say we don't know each other, Bam Bams, and I come to Gigg, what am I buying? What am I getting from you? Like, what is the product? I mean, I know that I think what you kind of painted it with a broad stroke, but get more specific.
Right now. So
Tell me right now, how can we use
build this
Gigg
podcast.
to build the podcast?
Okay.
I'm dead serious.
Yes. So first of all,
Get a little closer to your mic.
First of all, thank you.
Yes.
First of all, you got to know who you are. You got to know exactly who you are and what you're trying to message to the world or to your pueblo or your city. You got to know who you're going after, why you're going after them, and what you have to say. Once you've identified that, we've built software to help you see and understand what people are saying about you online.
Okay, do you help people figure that out? Because
Yes.
I know that a lot of people talk about find that true self, find your voice, find your tribe.
Yep.
But it is hard.
Yep.
It's really hard when you have to really, really kind of narrow it down, as opposed to, oh, I want to talk about this or I want to do
Right.
this. But when you kind of get down
Yeah.
into the nitty gritty, if
Yeah.
you will, how do you help people do that?
I won't even sell you my product unless I know you have that, because we fail every time. If you're still trying to figure out who you are, the software is worthless.
Yep.
Okay. So yes, we do consulting. I would say that half of the businesses that we work with, we consulted in helping them with what message they want to drive to the
Yeah.
masses. So unless you have that, you're going to fail. So whatever your podcast is, you got to know exactly who you're talking to and why. Are you talking to entrepreneurs that want to get into, becoming a businessman man or woman? I mean, are you talking to a guy that wants to be a pit boss? Who are you talking to, and what are you saying to them? Bam Bams, we know who we are. We're all about coming in for a great experience, a Texas style, very authentic. Cameron will not mess around with that authentic experience, barbecue experience. If we mess with what Cameron's core is, this thing fails. And so if we were to ever reproduce Bam Bams in the future, Cameron, as the heart of this brand, has to know it's going to stick to the authentic nature. If you saw that recent McDonald's movie, right, with what Ray Kroc, there were some of these different franchises where burritos were showing up on the menu,
Right.
and all. It fails. And he was furious. He turned tables over because someone messed with that brand. And so going back to Bam Bams, it's about the experience, fun, incredible food, not a huge menu, right? Cheesecake Factory has 4 billion menu items. Bam Bams has
Poor
what?
cooks.
12, 11?
Yeah.
11, yeah.
That's the core of the brand. So
Would have been 10 if it wasn't for you.
yep, swatches, everyone. Come and have some. Anyway, so we cannot start doing what we do until you know that. So consulting plays a big role in a lot of the customers that we work with. Once that's identified, then it's time to go to work in social media. We teach companies that they need to be in every social platform. If you're not in every social platform, you miss the boat.
Are they all created equal?
No, they're not. They all have their different reasons, and they also have their different ways of being used.
Are there some platforms that are better for certain things than others?
Definitely.
Do you specialize in certain platforms? Because I know that some people, when you kind of start drilling down in the social side, like they'll say we're really good on Facebook and Instagram, we're terrible on YouTube and LinkedIn, or whatever that is.
Yep. No, we specialize in all. I have my personal favorites. Twitter is my favorite.
Okay.
Instagram is...
Why? Why is Twitter your favorite?
I can message faster to more people, and I am focused on aligning with influencers, and there is no better place to align with influencers than Twitter.
Really?
Yep, without question. If you want to grow your brand, you better be on Twitter. If you want to align with influencers, you better be on Twitter.
How do you... I'm just going to shoot it. How do you do that authentically, though? That's always been my thing with social media is I feel like when people start becoming influential in that space, it becomes less authentic.
You start losing followers the minute that you become not authentic.
Okay.
So, again, I think the questions you're asking is that original initial consulting strategy. You won't ever feel... like you're moving in a direction that you don't want to be moving if you identify that core 5. Like because if you watch Cameron, like I keep referencing Cameron, you know what Cameron's there to talk about and you get what Cameron is.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, like, because if you follow we're talking about Dodgers. We're talking about cold cereal.
Yes.
Cereal, baby.
Yes.
The crap he gets sent to him because of cereal. I'm just like,
I have to take a side note. Cam just showed me the picture of those custom... are we allowed to talk about this? The custom Kyries that you got from Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Yeah, the Kyrie Irvings.
General Mills, not just Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I am like a shoe buff. I mean, that was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So,
well, that's nothing, man. I should show you a bunch of stuff. But anyway, I mean, but let me talk about this.
Okay.
If you'd gone back to when I was 11 years old, guess what? We're talking about the same thing.
If you ever want to go to an insane asylum, Warner household 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
30 years ago.
So, yeah, dang. Anyway, you're right. So sleeping over, you wake up in the morning, okay, and you have 5 Warners eating cereal at the same time. I mean, they've been obsessed with cereal since they were little.
It's a symphony.
They hold it close to their mouths. The bowl is not on the table.
Oh, geez.
And it's a shovel hold on the spoon, and it's like this. And I mean,
I share your love of cereal. I won a cereal competition once.
It's funny that I'm learning a lot here because Scott is very true to his passions on social media. And look, I've never really thought about that. Like, look where it's gone for. I mean, you're getting stuff. You're not even asking for it, and the cereal people are sending him stuff, and the Dodgers have him out to games. Like, all he's doing is talking about the things. It's his family, it's Dodgers, it's cereal, and just by talking about what he naturally wants to talk
and
about,
entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So really, guys, if you go back to when I was 10 years old and you look at what my core 5 are now, and where things were then, it hasn't even really changed.
Yeah.
And that's how you know if you're on the right track, because really your nature is built, who you are. This is why being a kid and helping children right now matters so much, because they're shaping who they are forever. And so that's why it's so critical that a parent stay on top of and watch their little ones, because they're forming who they are. And so, but if you go back and look, Dodgers, cereal, family, entrepreneurship, and music, that was me.
Yeah.
And it still is. So those are my core 5 things. And so
core 5 basically means passions. Your 5 passions.
Who you are to the core.
Right.
And if you need help with that, go talk to your wife or your mother. Or if you're not married yet, go talk to your best friend. They can help you identify that. But once you have identified that, now you're ready to make a move. Your business should be the same exact thing. And maybe your business is young, but there should be something that makes it your business. And that is what you need to deliver in your messaging through social media.
So in essence, it's a social media mission statement.
Totally. That's a great way to put it. I mean, yeah, that was so deep.
God, thank you. I graduated high school.
Me too.
Barely.
Same. But going back to it, like your questions really stem from you need to have that initial conversation with yourself or with, and that's what we help businesses do is identify that.
So I would say that, I mean, sorry, I'm kind of hijacking this.
You're not hijacking it.
Like if you were to ask, like I have my core 5. What I don't have is the natural desire to share that via social media or like how to do that. And I'll be the first to admit, like, there are a lot of things about it that I love, and there's a lot of things about it that I don't like.
Sure.
And I always tend to focus on stuff that I don't like. I mean, you go to a sporting event. I'm a huge jazz guy. I mean, you talk about
sorry.
4 or 5. No, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Next question.
You're a Lakers fan. Let's talk about being sorry. Let's talk about being sorry.
That's kind of true.
Touche.
So, but you go to a sporting event. People are living through their phones as opposed to watching the event because they have to make sure they get that clip so they can post it online. Mm-hmm. Nothing irritates me more. It's like, be where you are, be in the moment, like enjoy the moment. So how do you balance that out? Like, because I guess for me, it never ever is like, oh, I should get a picture of this. Like my wife's always like, hey, did you get a picture? Like I'll take the kids to their sporting event. Hey, did you get a picture? Did you get a video? No. Like it's never. And does that just mean
don't ever change?
So like, should you not try to then do social media, or do you have to be, in order to be successful on it, do you have to be someone who is on it multiple times a day, constantly posting videos? Like, is that
there's
what it
only
takes?
one way to be successful on social media?
Yeah,
that's to be you.
Yeah,
that's it. And so, whatever that is, be consistent.
Yeah.
The one thing that as I've spent time with influencers, and you know, I've worked with celebrities, I've worked with influencers that are trying to build their brand. I worked with, you know, entrepreneurs and business owners of billion-dollar companies that are trying to message themselves better, mm-hmm. right? You have to stay true to you, but you also have to be consistent, and you have to make an effort to be consistent daily if possible with who you are.
Yeah.
That's why it's great to have scheduling systems or calendars. You can't always be on it, right? You can't always be there, and you can't always be taking clips of your kids' games. It drives me nuts how often people post their food, right? Why do you have to take that out, right? Like no, but
dare you?
But I do it ever so often. But some people do it religiously. I can't stand selfies in front of mirrors and shirtless shots. Like, let's be real. Like, this is me. Like, what I'm saying. Like, and I'm not saying that anyone that does that is bad.
Yeah. I am.
That's not my brand.
For sure.
An idiot.
But it's Cameron's brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I stopped doing the mirror selfies. People it's not appetizing.
But you know what? That makes people who they are, and people evolve and change and stuff. But as long as they're being them, they're gonna win. You know, I tell a lot of. I just met with a bunch of young girls that are in high school. You know, and I talked about how hard it must be to grow up as a young woman right now with social media. There's so much pressure, and you know, they feel like they have to do things that may not necessarily be them. And I just read a stat that women spend 17 minutes filtering their photos and adjusting it. 17 minutes. What? You know, but there's so much pressure there. And what I try to tell them is you don't always have to be perfect. In fact, the people that don't portray perfection are the ones that grow, because people will trust you because you're not always perfect. And the same goes for entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs that talk about how great everything is and all their ventures and everything they're doing, they're full of it, man.
Right.
I want to hear how badly you suck.
Yeah.
I want to hear how many mistakes you've made. Be open to sharing those moments, because that's what makes you you.
Yeah.
That's what makes you authentic. And guess what happens? You start finding people following your pages. You find people start listening to your podcast because you're actually telling it like it is. And that is what a business or an individual must do to find or gain ground in the social media space. And that's what we teach them to do.
I think it's a refreshing thing. There's somebody that I follow. I think we'll have her on the podcast. Do you follow Kim White? Kim Can Kick It. Incredible story of overcoming cancer and
told me some cool
multiple times. And she posts a lot. And normally when people post a lot, it kind of drives me crazy. But it's funny with her. There's some days where she's all done up. There's some days where it looks like she just rolled out of bed. She doesn't give a crap. If she's in the hospital in a hospital gown, stuff hooked up to her, she just like, she's having problems with her kid, and she's like on the verge of tears, and she'll talk, and it's just like, man, it's true. Like, I think if you are very real, even through social media, you can tell what's organic and what isn't.
For sure.
And I think that is eye-opening. And then another thing about what you guys were talking about before, I just had a thought. Just as a business owner, because I struggle with the same things that you struggle with, Andrew, it is really hard for me to think, like, I'd never want to look like I'm bragging about things that I do, or that I'm posting too much. But it just got me thinking, because Scott was talking about consistency, and I'm really bad at consistency, which is sad because I can really quantify. When I post, I see a quantifiable increase in sales in the restaurant.
Yeah.
But it's still difficult. But I also really suck at accounting.
Yes, he does.
Do I have a bookkeeper and do I have an accountant? Yes. So I wonder, as business owners, why don't we ever think about hiring? Is it bad to think about hiring out things that you're not super good at? Like, I can take pictures and I can talk about the things that are my passions, right? But man, maybe it is time for me to look at social media the way that I look at accounting.
Oh my gosh, this is the greatest podcast ever, because Cameron has finally realized something today.
Hey, I'm a listener. You said it earlier. I mean, there's I think we're all the same way, where sometimes you put it in a way that makes sense. And it finally dawned on me, like, I feel like I've always been good at hiring people to do things, or hiring smarter people than me to do the things that I'm not passionate about, so I can do what I'm passionate about in the business, which is the cooking, which is, being out with customers and doing my classes. And so why not treat social media the same way? And so, yeah, shut up, Scott.
This is wonderful. Look, Andrew, this is Cameron, we'll give you a little discount on the consulting session.
Hey, I'm using the Gigg board now. Anyways.
Yeah,
but I think that's a good point. Like you, Andrew, you're saying that you struggle with social media because just the way that you are built, you want to be in the moment. So why can't Aventus Wealth hire a social media person to help you be consistent on social media? I know
someone.
You hire Brent to help you with the administrative side of the business, right?
So it's funny because as we were talking about having Scott on my morning run, it was like, I believe in the power of social media.
I wasn't on the morning run.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, I just want everybody to know that.
I'm preparing for my half marathon, Cam.
Stupid. You're 13.1.
No, let's not get into this. Let's not. Nope.
Give me a break. Nope. Half.
But I was thinking about, hiring someone out to do it because I appreciate and recognize the value that is there. And it's not that I don't enjoy it, because I will go and talk about the Jazz, about Nike. I mean, you get me going on something, business, entrepreneurship, family, a lot of those things similar to you.
Yeah.
I won't stop talking about it, but it's like
own it.
It's like I do own it, but how do you transition that to social media? You know what I mean?
You might need some. Cameron just may have summed it up for you. Like, if you're not going to do it, you better find someone to do it. You just mentioned you see the value in it. It's only going to become more valuable. And if you miss
that's why I got back on a month ago.
You have to. You have to. Anyone listening, if you're not on social media and you're trying to push something, a campaign, a philanthropic idea.
Everyone's trying to push something.
You have to do it. But if you're going to do it effectively, you better make sure it's authentic.
Yeah.
And you better know what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Talk to me about the most unexpected benefit of social media for you. When you get into it, people get in expecting sales to increase, product, whatever that is. Talk to me about an unexpected benefit.
The friends I've made all over the world. The influencers or celebrities or athletes that I've been able to meet, just put myself out there. I've had very spiritual experiences too with some of my, friends. I call them, I hate saying followers. These are my friends. Man, I don't even know where to start with that, but I think that social media is the most powerful tool that mankind has ever been given to go and do good in the world. There's a lot of bad too. There's some terrifying, horrendous, horrific, demonic garbage that lives inside of social media, which truly is the case with anything.
Yep.
But there's also some of the most beautiful, amazing, incredible opportunities, experiences that live inside of social media. And it's about seeing the good in it and using it for the good.
And do you know what actually got me exactly what you just said? What got me back to social media was I read a book, The Third Door, by Alex Benayan.
Yeah, I heard that in your first podcast.
Oh my gosh.
It
that
is
book's amazing.
unbelievable. I reached out to him on Twitter. He responded to me.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
We went back and like here. No, you joke, but never in a million years would I have thought, oh yeah, I'm going to get in touch with Alex. You know, we went back and forth, got in touch with his mentor Elliot. He lives up in Eden. We went back and forth a handful of times. My second favorite book is The Go-Giver. I was like, I'm going to reach out to Bob Berg. Reach out to him. He responded. We went back and forth. It's just like that.
There you go.
That's the coolest thing that you can.
Yeah.
You have this medium to which you can connect with people that there is no way outside of that world that you're ever going to connect with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I could go on for days about this, but, you know, I partnered with my childhood hero in one of the businesses that I'm doing, you know, that played for the Dodgers, Steve Sachs. You know, I'm connected with some of the biggest artists in the world, and I've had a chance to work with them, and it all stemmed from reaching out, just opening up, looking for an opportunity like you did.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I'm working with them, I'm engaged with them, talking with them.
I went to a movie with Steve Sachs. Steve Sachs. Like, one of my, like, we all grew up with Steve Sachs. Like,
Yeah.
I had to pinch myself. I'm like, all because of Scott and his social media. We're sitting in it. We went to it, right?
Yeah, I think it was it. Yes.
And it's like, I'm sitting here with Steve Sachs.
And
right
we're all
now.
scared right now because this freaking clown is.
I just stared at Steve Sachs eating popcorn the whole time. It was creepy. No, but anyway, it does create an accessibility that is really kind of crazy. That's how I met Street Bike Tommy.
Yeah.
There you go.
I noticed that he followed me. I screenshotted it and I posted. I'm like, I just had one of the coolest moments of my life. And I've slept in his house twice now. Like we're homies. And all because of social media.
And smart influencers will understand the power of aligning with their big fans. I mean, that's the power of social media. So anyway, it's great. But Andrew, like in talking to you, I mean, it's kind of like we're having our consulting meeting now. Like you just.
But I find it fascinating. Like I think this is really cool.
And we haven't
I think a lot of people feel like you and I do, or struggle with that balance. And so to hear this side of it, I've never really heard the Gigg pitch before. And I know I'm not getting the full Gigg pitch right now, but I mean, it really has even opened my eyes as close as you and I are to some things that I haven't thought about before.
You don't listen to the people you love most, right?
I listen to you.
Sometimes.
As long as it's fun.
But you know, you say there are people that feel like this. I've walked into world-class businesses that still have absolutely no clue on how to leverage the social media landscape. I mean, we're working with a couple right now that are going to be incredible for us, that are finally opening up to ideas around social media because they know they have to. They know they're missing the boat and falling short. Much of the music industry fell short because the high, big-time executives were not willing to pay attention to what Steve Jobs was working on, to what all those guys at Napster was working on, and it crushed the music industry. Same rules apply with any of these businesses that are not staying on top of the social media landscape. And so, I mean, that's what we do. What's funny is we haven't even talked about my software because we're still addressing what has to happen before the software is introduced.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Who are some of the customers are you allowed to talk about? Like a couple customers that you're excited about working with right now that
we're working with a local company called Vivint. We're doing some stuff with Nissan. We're doing some stuff with just some local businesses right now. Teppanyaki just got signed up, which is my favorite restaurant outside of Bam Bam's, of course.
Son of a...
We work with this company called Bam Bam's Barbecue Incorporated of Orem, Utah. We Quick Quack Car Wash.
Right.
Oh, really?
Man, it's funny. A bunch of universities. We've really focused on higher ed. My really good friend Ryan Smith.
Hold on, higher ed. Why? Like, what are the universities using it for?
Universities are absolutely struggling with how to message themselves in social media, and they're not capitalizing on what students, alumni, teachers, faculty, they're clueless. And so I'm actually presenting in Nashville to 1,500 universities the Gigg software
Yeah, 'cause
platform.
I'd never. I mean, you say social media and university. I would never put those two together.
Hey, it's a big business, man.
So I'll tell you.
Media.
I'll tell
How's
you.
it going to sell those kids and all that debt? You know.
We
Sorry, don't get me started.
Gigg is identified outside of influencers, right? 5 spaces, and those 5 spaces that we're attacking and going after are higher ed, universities.
Okay.
Ryan Smith, that's where he started with Qualtrics, right? He
Yeah.
really dove into, and Ryan's been great for me. It's funny, we have our meeting here at Bam Bam's and eat, and he tells me about everything. It's crazy to see what that guy's done with the company and his team, his brother, his dad. So inspiring for me. But higher ed. Secondly, car dealerships, restaurants. We just signed a company called Pokeball that's implementing into all of their hundreds of locations nationwide. The Gigg monitor. Let's see. Did I say retail?
No.
Okay, retail, and then finally, did I say car dealerships?
Yeah.
I need to start all over again. Car dealerships, higher ed, restaurants, retail, and the final one is. Geez, I'm struggling remembering that final one. Did I say restaurants? We'll just stick with the 4 right now.
We have a 4-prong attack.
Yeah, really higher ed right now is our big one, and retail, restaurants.
So Scott, as a business owner, so if I look
Dental.
at you, dental.
Good gracious, Dental Intel is a customer.
Okay.
They're awesome. They have a great product. So,
Yeah. Is on the social media space, is there a difference between the owner branding himself as opposed to the business?
Definitely. In fact, Cameron and I need to have that conversation. There is a very, very important, this day and age, executives inside of a business must build a brand, especially the CEO or the leader. You got to let your hair down. You got to let people see who you are. And people are looking for an opportunity to align with that leader and understand that leader.
So is your strategy more around building the personal brand of the individual or the brand of the business?
Both simultaneously, because
Okay.
they both play a role together.
Okay.
Yep.
They're kind of one and the same if
They
you think
really are.
about it. Like it's. I
They
mean,
are,
for
but
me,
you very rarely see an owner and a business who both have successful social media following. Typically,
Right.
it's one or the other.
right.
Yeah, you're right. There's some truth to that, but they should be working together to build more awareness,
Okay.
right? And so that's definitely the case for Gigg, right? With me, and even Bam Bam's Barbecue is Cam, but as it's grown, like there might be some opportunities to maybe there's the Bam Bam's Barbecue Corp Inc. or whatever, and then Bam Bam's Barbecue, which is Cameron. But there definitely should be, because one should be making announcements talking about what's happening with the business, employees, internally, offerings, opportunities. The other is the life of the brains behind it or who that person is, and they really do have separate goals, I guess you could say.
So should like the personal one be posting stuff about the business, or should it mainly just be like family life?
It depends on what they're trying to message,
Okay.
right? There's really there's a lot of good when someone puts themselves out there, a little vulnerable, the struggles, the strengths, the successes, the failures, and I think that the individual can tell that story
Okay.
better than, you don't want the brand talking about it unless it's an apology for crap brisket that was burnt by Cameron.
It wasn't me.
You know what I'm
My
saying?
brisket
So,
is
Yeah.
beautiful.
So-
But no, it is very true. One thing that the thing that I probably struggle with the most is like Insta stories of myself, or like even picture, like I don't want to look like I just want to be like
me.
right. But I will say that when I'm in it, I have a much higher response rate than I do if it's just like a picture of the food.
Yeah.
And that's something that I kind of look at and go, well, I need to be able to, because it is scary. I mean, I'm a pretty outgoing, extroverted person, but I'm like you. Like when I watch, like you, Andrew, like when I watch somebody film themselves, I'm like, how many times did they have to do that to get that? Like, what a tool. But, I think people know that when I do something, it is authentic and it is natural, and I'm not just hamming it up for Instagram, but I think that's what you were referencing, Scott, when you're like, me and Cameron have to have a talk about that.
If you were to look back over your journey, what would you say is your favorite failure?
That's a good question. I would say thinking I knew it all. After raising millions of dollars, I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was arrogant. I thought I knew everything. I didn't listen to anyone but myself for the most part. And I got my butt kicked. I made some massive mistakes.
How has that helped form you today and how you go about things today?
I call them sacred funds, a lot more than I did. I was blessed with a lot of success at Pinnacle. I made a lot of money. I think a lot of these younger guys and gals are making money that only people can only dream of.
For sure.
And they have no clue what they're doing with it. I worked hard for my money, but I think it got to a point where it was growing on trees for me, in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I blew through millions of dollars without really focusing on where that money was going and why it was going there. It forced me to learn how to be smarter with money, and then I also made a lot of mistakes with partners early on. All great people, but not a lot of them were the right fit for what I needed at the time, and so I surrounded myself with a lot of the wrong people, and I paid for it. And so I don't mess with that anymore. I really, really, partners are everything, right?
Yeah. I would say it's actually really common when you raise money as kind of as an investment, you kind of treat it as an investment. And I've heard multiple people say, oh, they knew the risk going into it, right? But it's learning to kind of protect that and, treat it as if it was your own, and move forward with it. I have one more question, then you can finish up.
No, go for it.
You have one social media post left. Whether you're going to die, you're going to be gone, and that one post is going to be what you're remembered for. What is that post?
Holy deep.
It is deep.
That might take some time to think about, but I think I would, I'd scream loud and clear to the world, and I always think about my children, right, and what I'm saying. So one day they'll maybe read some of the stuff, but I would say something. Focus on what you truly love, and focus on your priorities, and do good in the world. Like, lift others, help others, and focus on the good things in life. Don't waste any time on the bad. There's not enough time.
Focus on what you can control. I like that.
So, hey, dude, this has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun. You guys are awesome.
I really appreciate you coming. So hopefully everybody enjoyed it. I'm sure they did, and we'll have to do it again.